Welcome to the Game Changers, which is a Latitude Ventures show. On this show, we're going to invite a variety of business guests to discuss the picture of the Latino-owned businesses in the U.S. Each month, we're going to have a special guest in our show. Today, we are so thrilled to welcome Fanny Grande. Fanny is an award-winning filmmaker, actor, and director over 2 decades of experience in the entertainment industry. So she co-founded Avenida Productions, an independent movie studio focused on democratizing access to Hollywood. And then she's reshaping the entire entertainment landscape. Fanny, it's so fantastic to have you here. Can you tell us more about yourself and your journey?
Thank you, Laura, for having me. Thank you, Latitude Ventures. Excited to be here. Yeah, I started very young with dreams of being an actor. I started as a little performer. My first performance was in kindergarten, right? And I remember doing a show and seeing the applause and the lights and getting so much praise from the adults. I was like, I'm in. This is what I want to do. So I decided really young in Venezuela, that's where I'm from, that this is what I wanted to do. And when I was 17, we moved to the US, and I was so excited because I was closer to Hollywood, the place where movies get made. And unfortunately, when I got to Hollywood, I realized, wait a minute, the way this industry perceives Latinos is very different from my upbringing. The few roles were available or are still available are negative stereotypes. And I decided to do something about it because I didn't want to keep playing the negative stereotypes as an actor. I was very aware of the impact that has on our community and the opportunities that we receive. And then later on, when I became a mom, it was very important to me that my kids were able to see themselves represented on screen in a positive light. So I very early on in college started making my own movies, my own short films, and started winning awards. And that's how I got to where I am today, which is a filmmaker. I decided very early on to take charge of my own career and the narrative around our community.
And Fanny, I mean, you talked about, growing up in another country and then coming here and seeing that those opportunities weren't as vastly open to the Latino community. And some people would say, well, there's not enough. The talent pool isn't there. What would you say to that in terms of what Hollywood thinks and those opportunities and what's driving why we're not showing up in the films today?
Yeah, that's a big misconception. We are 20% of the US population, yet we only get less than 3% of leading roles. Half of them are negative stereotypes. And that is not because of a lack of talent. It is simply because of a lack of access. Okay. And it's systemic. The perception that as a Latino community, we're all newly immigrants like me, right? We all just got here, but it's impossible for 20% of the population to just have gotten here, So I didn't grow up with those limitations. Let me tell you an example. When I would go out for roles, there were usually just 2 kinds, right? The maid with no lines and the gambanglish wife, right? And it's like, oh my gosh, those are the two narratives. This is how we're perceived in this country. Like, that's all that we are, right? But when I grew up, we're everything. Obviously, we're lawyers, we're teachers, we're everything. We don't have a limitation. So if we're perceived this way, as a very narrow way, no wonder we don't get the opportunities. And this is why for us, it was so important to really change the narrative. And the solution, and it's been working really well so far, is to empower the creative community itself, because they have the talent, they have the ideas, they just don't have the resources or the access.
Yeah, and that's what you've been doing at Avenida, unlocking the visibility into that talent pool, but not only unlocking it, highlighting how that talent pool can get funding, and also making that talent pool aware that there's other ways to showcase the business, and you guys have been coaching them and driving that forward. So talk a little bit about the tools that you're doing to showcase that there is a pipeline, that talent exists, and you're building the opportunity for others to see that talent.
Yeah, so the way that we are operating is very different. It's very outside the box. So a lot of times we get pushback from the Hollywood system because we're doing it very differently. But we have to do it this way because the system as it's set up now, it just doesn't work for us. So, the biggest pain point for a project to get made is funding, right? We all know without funding, there's simply no project. So we decided to really focus on crowdfunding. How do we get all these projects funded by the community? Reason being, I crowdfunded my very first feature film, and I went out to the community and I said, hey, help me make this film that's going to help transform the way Latinos are portrayed in the media. And a lot of folks gave a little bit of money, and it became like this mission, like almost like an activist piece. That was not my intention, but people are hungry to see themselves represented. So I raised all this money, and not only did I raise money, my project that hadn't even been shot yet had a lot of fans already attached. So it came with an audience. And then when it came time to sell the project, none of the Hollywood studios or traditional distributors would pick it up because the movie was in English and it lacked all the negative stereotypes that Hollywood is so used to. So nobody would buy it. They're like, no, this is not going to sell. Nobody's going to watch it. So the same community that funded the project helped me distribute the project. They started requesting the film at their local movie theater. And it just became like this amazing movement that the community took on this film to really take charge of our own narrative. So what we're doing at Avenida is take that same system, because I sort of figured out a way to circumvent the Hollywood system, to get a project funded, produced, and distributed with the community, for the community. So that's what we're doing. When it comes to funding, we help filmmakers, creatives, actors, writers, musicians, et cetera, fundraise via our crowdfunding platform. We have our own crowdfunding platform. It's called Support Our Story. It's a rewards-based crowdfunding platform. We're very happy because we launched a year ago. We started, with a soft launch beta, and we've raised $1 million already, over $1 million already for 80 projects that wouldn't exist otherwise. So we decided, you know what? Let's embed the coaching into the platform. And we're the only platform that does that. So as you're crowdfunding, you get coaching sent to you to your phone, you get a text message, or you get an email, and we tell you exactly what to do that day. And we have a really high, like 95% success rate, which is unheard of compared to the, Kickstarters and Indiegogos of the world. And our contribution size is 3 times that of the other platforms. So that tells you, not only is it working, there's a hunger for these projects to be made. So once a project has been funded via crowdfunding, we either help the filmmaker produce the content, or they produce it on their own. And now the last piece, which was, the biggest piece of the puzzle, is distribution. Because you can have tons of amazing content out there, but if if there's no place to watch it, what is the point? So we are getting ready to launch a streamer in 4 weeks, actually, which is very, very exciting. And we're going to be launching in about 30 million homes. And a lot of these pipeline content that we've been creating throughout the years, or, all the relationships that we have within the creative community in Hollywood, et cetera, are finally going to have a platform. So we're connecting the creative community with the audience. And the audience is so hungry to see ourselves represented. We are so hungry. Latinos watch, we buy 1 in 4 movie tickets, and we consume most of the streaming content. We're actually the most avid consumers of media of any other group. Yet we don't see ourselves represented that much. So we're going to be connecting the creative community to the consumer. And that's how we really believe we're going to revolutionize Hollywood.
Well, I'm excited for your launch, and I've been waiting for this for so long. So I'm truly excited for it. And I know that a lot of it has to do with some of the same things that you just described that were the barriers for the artist is capital. So thinking about how you started on this mission and how Latitude Ventures maybe contributing to supporting the mission from a funding perspective, because as you mentioned, it's really hard not only to be an entrepreneur, but also to be an entrepreneur in Hollywood and to build a platform that serves Hollywood. It takes a lot of capital. So talk to us about how it's been in terms of raising capital, having our support, and then now where you're getting to the point where you're going to be launching the streaming business that is going to catalyze you into the next phase of Avenida.
We opened 7 years ago with this mission to transform Hollywood and to empower the Latino creative community. And a few years into being in business, we quickly realized this isn't, our dream isn't big enough, right? Because we had been bootstrapping and we had been making such a big impact bootstrapping. So a couple of years ago, we decided, okay, let's really start fundraising this idea, because we have proven in the market that it works, right? What we're doing works and is making a difference. So 2 years ago, we went to, Latitude conference and we pitched at the matchup. And we were so excited to get funded, because it is very difficult to get funding in this industry as a Latino company, as a Latina CEO. It's almost impossible. And we knew that Silicon Valley and the tech world would get it, because what we're doing is we're really using technology and like social media and grassroots outreach to the work that we're doing. So there's a tech component. So we decided, instead of using, at that time, we were using the other platforms, the crowdfunding platforms, which to us were missing, we're lacking certain things. So once Latitude invested in us, we decided, you know what? Let's build our own crowdfunding platform, one that's unique, one that comes with coaching, one that's going to run itself and is really going to be a great entry point for content to be developed in this pipeline. So we used the investment from Latitude to build our crowdfunding platform. We also built movie sets. So a lot of our clients who crowdfunded with us then used the funds and actually shot on our facility. And now we're going to be able to release a lot of this content on our platform, our distribution platform. And that way, not only do the creatives get to finally monetize on their projects, now audiences get to see themselves represented, and advertisers, get to connect directly to the US Latino, which is, we are the hot demographic. Everybody wants our money right now and they want to connect to us. It's just hard because there's no really platforms out there where an advertiser could say, this is where the Latinos are, in English or bilingual. We have large Spanish platforms out there, but we speak English too. We are just as American as everybody else. We just have our culture is a little different, but we're still American.
Why don't you think the networks had gone? I mean, it's been decades, right? Why do you think it's taken them so long?
A lot of times when these projects are launched, they don't include us. So they're for us, but they don't include us. Or they're pandering, or they're just full of negative stereotypes, and that turns us off. I don't think we want to be seen as the other. We just want to be seen as a part of the fabric of this country. We contribute as much as everybody else. And yes, we have our culture that we embrace and that we love, but we shouldn't be segregated to this side. So that's been the strategy. Oh, if you want to get to the Latinos, you got to, create content or advertise in Spanish television. But if you think about it, who watches Spanish television? It's usually new immigrants and the older generation. So they're missing a huge swath of our community.
And I think when we first met, aside from, obviously you being Latina and working in this industry to really change the industry, what I was excited about was supporting a Latina founder, which we all know it's very hard to raise capital, not only as a founder, but to raise capital in our community and then be a Latina is, just triple whammy there. So when some of the stats show that even overall in terms of women, there's only 5 Latina women founders who have achieved a unicorn status.
Mhm.
In terms of Black and Latina founders, there's only 350 that have received more than $1 million in funding. So the stats are terrible. So I'm very excited that we are supporting you in this journey, that you are one of the few that we're going to see, really grow and take the journey to the next level. So talk to us about how you've taken this opportunity as being a Latina in the industry and trying to help support others, and maybe potentially why more don't do this. I know there's a lack of representation, but I think as women, we should absolutely unite to help support each other across our community and to really help drive capital.
What works for me is having another group of founders, and that's something that I am so grateful for. Latitude is the women in the portfolio. We call each other, we support each other, and that's invaluable. I call you all the time. There's something about us women come together. It's like, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what this person told me when I was pitching. It had nothing to do with the project. It's like things that they would not ask a straight white male. They would just simply not ask them that. They look at us as if we're actual unicorns from another planet. It's like, I'm a human being. I'm a founder. I'm capable of doing this. Look, everything that I've done for the past 7 years, for the past 20 years of my career, you can be assured that I am the right person to run this company and to invest in, because I'm very knowledgeable. But it takes a while to get to that point, and it's frustrating. So a lot of times just venting to other Latina founders, and there's so few of us, so I feel like we sort of all know each other, has been an incredible journey. And for me, I just really always come back to, this is a business opportunity. There's a huge portion of our country that is not being served. So it's an opportunity. You either see it or you don't see it. And on the other flip side, there is a social impact to our company, to really uplifting underrepresented voices, to changing the way our community is presented in the media. It's something that drives me. So investment, no investment, we're getting it done, because this is something that we really, really care about.
And that's what I see about our community, is that, we innovate, we find ways to make it happen. They're not the traditional ways, because that's what we've been dealt with for so long. But we're resilient and we keep pushing. And so I congratulate you on that. And we actually gave you a Game Changers Award this year for all of the great things that you've accomplished with Avenida and the mission. And so we're excited to see what comes next. And you talked a little bit earlier about your streaming platform. So tell us about what the future holds for Avenida Productions.
It's been such a long journey, but we are finally in a place we are so excited. And it took this long because of funding, really. But I'm also kind of glad it took this long, because we have learned so much about what it takes to run a successful streaming platform, what it takes to, get content, what it takes to get the correct technology and distribution partners. So we are launching in about 4 weeks. Our official launch is going to be in January. We're launching with fast channels, which is a new technology. When you buy your new smart TVs, now it comes with free channels. And if you've noticed that, a lot of these smart TVs come with free channels now. So we're going to have one of those channels, and we're going to be in about 30 million households to launch. And then we're also going to have an app called A+. We're going to be on Roku, on Amazon, on Prime, on the web, on the iOS, on the Android phones, everywhere. And for me, I'm just so excited, because people are finally going to get to see us, who we are as a community, the entire rainbow of our Latinidad. We're not just one thing. We're many, many, many things. So, and we're launching with documentaries, films, series, short films, podcasts, etc.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was great catching up with you and all the progress that Avenida is making. And we look forward to seeing all of the success to come. And yeah, gracias.
Of course, if you're watching this podcast and you want to support, please watch A+, watch it, consume the media, watch the ads, because that's how we're going to monetize. Because we want our narrative to change, we have to support each other and we have to engage. So thank you so much for having me.
Exactly. Adios, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode of our Game Changers podcast.
Thank you.